Imagine this. You're walking down a busy street, just minding your own business, when out of nowhere, someone bumps into you, then turns around with a snide remark, or perhaps cuts you off in a conversation, making you feel instantly frustrated. It's a moment that could easily set the tone for your whole day. But here's the real question. Why do we let other people's actions, words, or attitudes have so much control over our own emotions? What if, instead of allowing someone else's behavior to disturb your inner peace, you could train yourself to view every interaction from a place of strength and emotional freedom? This may sound difficult at first, but the truth is, the power to never get angry or bothered by anyone lies within your ability to shift your perspective. We live in a world that constantly challenges us, where people may speak thoughtlessly, act without empathy, or push our buttons in ways we didn't expect. It's easy to react in the heat of the moment, to feel like you have no choice but to match their energy, whether that's through frustration, irritation, or anger. But here's something important to realize. Most of the time, what people say or do isn't truly about you. In fact, many times, it's more about what's happening in their own lives. When you stop to think about it, how often do we lash out because we're dealing with our own inner turmoil, stress, or unmet needs? This is true for everyone. People act out of their own internal struggles, which rarely have anything to do with how we deserve to be treated. So, when you can truly internalize this reality, that other people's words or actions are reflections of their own states of mind and life circumstances, it becomes a lot easier to detach emotionally. If you can step back and acknowledge that no one's behavior is personally aimed at you, it becomes possible to create a buffer between their actions and your response. This doesn't mean you don't care, or that you should allow others to walk all over you. It simply means that you choose not to take things personally, not to let someone else's negative energy invade your emotional space. There's incredible power in realizing that, ultimately, you are the only one in charge of your emotional state. No matter what happens around you, the way you choose to respond remains entirely in your control. Think about it. The world is full of potential provocations. People can be rude, inconsiderate, or even downright mean. But the peace you maintain through it all is a direct reflection of your own choices. The more you practice stepping back from the chaos, observing it from a neutral space, and choosing calm over reaction, the stronger you become in guarding your peace. So, the next time you feel a spark of frustration or anger rising within you because of someone else's actions, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what do I want to feel right now? Do I want to give this person control over my emotions? In that pause, you'll find the freedom to decide how you respond, and from that freedom comes the power to never truly be bothered by anyone. The importance of self-awareness, to never get angry or bothered by anyone. The first step is cultivating a deep sense of self-awareness. This may sound simple on the surface, but it's one of the most powerful tools you have in managing your reactions to the outside world. When we talk about self-awareness, we're not just referring to being aware of your thoughts or emotions in a general sense. It's about understanding the deeper layers of yourself, your triggers, your patterns, your values, and the way you respond to situations. It's about recognizing that, within every interaction, there are aspects of yourself that influence how you react, often without your conscious awareness. Take a moment to reflect on the last time you found yourself getting angry or upset by someone else. What happened? Did colleagues say something that felt disrespectful? Did a friend cancel plans last minute without offering an apology? Did a stranger cut in front of you in line, making you feel disrespected? In these moments, our emotions often rise up instinctively, and sometimes we don't take a moment to examine why we feel the way we do. Self-awareness means developing the ability to ask yourself, why did I feel this way? What part of me is being triggered right now? It's important to understand that anger or irritation rarely comes out of nowhere. There's usually an underlying cause, often tied to your expectations, past experiences, or unmet needs. For instance, if someone cuts in line in front of you, you may feel anger rise within you because it violates your sense of fairness and respect. But what if, instead of automatically responding with frustration, you paused and recognized that your reaction comes from your belief that people should treat one another with respect? Suddenly, the situation shifts. You're no longer just reacting emotionally to a perceived injustice. You're observing the trigger and can then choose a more conscious response. Perhaps you gently ask the person to step back, or maybe you choose to let it go, understanding that it's not worth losing your peace over. The point is, your awareness of your beliefs and values gives you the ability to respond from a place of clarity rather than emotional impulse. Self-awareness also means recognizing your own vulnerabilities. Many times, we get upset because of unresolved issues from our past, things that still affect us today, even though we may not be consciously aware of them. It could be a wound from childhood, an experience of betrayal, or a past failure. These experiences create emotional scars that shape how we interpret the world around us. When someone behaves in a way that reminds us of those old hurts, our anger isn't truly about what's happening in the present moment. It's often about something that hasn't been healed within us. If you can recognize this, you have the opportunity to respond with compassion toward yourself. Instead of reacting with anger or frustration, you can see that what's really needed is not an external change, but an internal one: healing and understanding. One of the most important parts of self-awareness is accepting that you are human, and it's okay to feel emotions. We often think of emotions as something to suppress or avoid, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Emotions are natural and are meant to guide us. They alert us to what's important, what we value, and where we might need to focus our attention. The goal isn't to eliminate anger or frustration altogether, but to acknowledge and process those emotions in a healthy, constructive way. When you are self-aware, you can sit with your emotions without letting them take over. You can choose to feel the emotion, understand where it's coming from, and then let it pass, rather than letting it dictate your behavior or attitude toward others. The beauty of self-awareness is that it empowers you to take full responsibility for your own emotional state. You stop blaming others for how you feel and start looking inward to understand your triggers and your responses. This shift in perspective means that, instead of being at the mercy of every person you encounter, you begin to realize that you are the one in control. In every situation, you have the power to choose how you respond. Understanding that your emotional reactions are not just automatic, but rather a reflection of your internal state is a game changer. The more you understand your own emotional landscape, the less you will be bothered by the actions or words of others. And with that understanding, you gain the freedom to live without anger, resentment, or unnecessary emotional turmoil. The art of emotional detachment. One of the most profound skills in learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone is mastering the art of emotional detachment. Now, when I say detachment, I don't mean detaching from people in an uncaring or callous way. It's not about shutting yourself off from relationships or emotions entirely, nor is it about being cold or indifferent. Emotional detachment is about creating a healthy distance between yourself and the external events that might otherwise trigger an emotional reaction. It's about learning how to engage with life without letting your emotions be so tightly bound to the actions of others. When you master emotional detachment, you develop the ability to experience life fully, while maintaining a sense of peace and control, regardless of the chaos or conflict that might be happening around you. The concept of emotional detachment often gets misunderstood. People may think that it means not caring about anything or becoming emotionally numb. In reality, emotional detachment is about cultivating a state of inner calm in the face of external challenges. It's the ability to observe a situation without being swept away by your emotional reactions to it. It's a conscious choice to step back from your immediate impulses and gain a clearer perspective before reacting. Imagine, for example, that a colleague makes a biting comment about your work in a meeting. In the past, you might have reacted defensively, feeling hurt or angry, but with emotional detachment, you pause. You observe the comment, but you don't let it pierce you. You don't allow your emotions to latch onto it, and you don't let it control your next move. You can choose to stay calm, to let the comment roll off, and to move forward without carrying any emotional baggage. But how do you practice emotional detachment in a practical way? It starts by understanding that your emotions, while powerful, are not permanent. Emotions are temporary states, and one of the most helpful perspectives you can adopt is that this too shall pass. When you feel anger or frustration rising, take a moment to breathe and remind yourself that no feeling, no matter how intense, lasts forever. In moments of emotional charge, you can create space between the stimulus, what someone said or did, and your response, how you feel and act. This space allows you to decide, consciously, how you want to respond, rather than reacting impulsively. Another way to cultivate emotional detachment is by practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of staying present, of being fully aware of the moment without judgment. When you are mindful, You are able to notice your thoughts and emotions as they arise, but you don't get attached to them. You don't let your thoughts define you, nor do you let your emotions control you. For example, when someone cuts in line in front of you, instead of automatically feeling angry and rushing to say something, you simply acknowledge the feeling of irritation as it arises, but you don't let it consume you. You can think, I feel frustrated, and then gently let the emotion pass without giving it power over your actions. Through mindfulness, you create a moment of awareness where you can choose to respond in a way that aligns with your higher self, rather than reacting from a place of emotion. Additionally, emotional detachment involves understanding that people's behavior is not always about you. People act based on their own experiences, fears, and circumstances. When you realize that others' actions are more a reflection of their inner world than your own, it becomes easier to detach emotionally. If someone insults you or acts rudely, their behavior is usually more about their own insecurities or frustrations than anything to do with you. When you understand this, you stop internalizing their actions and learn to separate yourself from the negativity they may be projecting. In doing so, you protect your own energy and refuse to take on someone else's emotional baggage. You learn to keep your peace, no matter what others throw at you. A key part of emotional detachment is also learning how to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are not just about physical space. They're about emotional space too. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, whether that's with hurtful words, actions, or expectations, it's crucial to protect your own emotional well-being. Emotional detachment helps you set those boundaries with clarity and strength. You don't have to get angry or upset in response to people pushing your limits. Instead, you calmly assert what you will and will not tolerate, and you remove yourself from situations that compromise your emotional health. When you set boundaries in this way, it's not about rejecting the other person or seeking conflict. It's about preserving your own peace and protecting your emotional integrity. At its core, emotional detachment is about learning to be the observer of your emotions, rather than being ruled by them. Think of it as being the pilot of your own emotional plane. External turbulence, whether it's someone's rude behavior or an unexpected challenge, may shake the plane, but you remain in control of the flight. The turbulence may cause some discomfort, but it doesn't dictate your direction or control your response. You can calmly navigate through it, knowing that the storm will pass and you will come out on the other side with your peace intact. In practice, this doesn't mean that you never feel anything. It means you feel everything without letting it consume you. When you practice emotional detachment, you begin to live with an internal calm that is not easily disturbed by the unpredictable forces around you. This doesn't make you indifferent or emotionally distant. It makes you empowered. You can still deeply care about people, situations, and outcomes, but you no longer allow others' behavior to steal your inner peace. You stand firm in your emotional center, knowing that you alone have the power to determine how you respond to life, regardless of how others choose to behave. And in that strength, you find true freedom. The role of compassion in keeping your peace. Another critical component in learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone is developing a sense of compassion, both for yourself and for others. Compassion is often misunderstood as simply feeling sorry for someone or trying to fix their problems. But real compassion is much more profound than that. It's the ability to recognize the shared humanity between you and others, and to respond to both yourself and them with understanding, kindness, and empathy. When you cultivate compassion, you naturally become less reactive to the negative behaviors or attitudes of others. Instead of seeing someone's actions as personal attacks, you begin to understand that they are often reflections of that person's inner struggles. With compassion, you see the bigger picture, and in doing so, you preserve your peace and maintain your emotional equilibrium, no matter what happens around you. One of the keys to using compassion as a tool for emotional peace is to recognize that everyone is fighting battles you may not see. No one acts without reason, even if their actions seem irrational or hurtful. Behind every rude comment, defensive posture, or passive-aggressive behavior, there are underlying fears, insecurities, or unresolved emotional wounds. When you approach others with compassion, you stop taking their behavior personally. You don't automatically assume that they mean to hurt you or disrespect you. Instead, you recognize that they are simply acting from their own place of pain or limitation. For instance, let's say you're dealing with a friend who often cancels plans last minute without explanation. In the past, you may have felt hurt and upset by this behavior, interpreting it as a personal rejection. But if you approach the situation with compassion, you might stop and think, maybe they're going through something difficult that I don't know about. Perhaps they don't feel comfortable communicating what's really going on, or maybe they are struggling with their own emotional issues that are preventing them from keeping commitments. This perspective shift doesn't mean you ignore your own feelings or let someone walk all over you. It simply means that instead of reacting in anger or disappointment, you choose to extend kindness and understanding toward the other person. In doing so, you free yourself from the burden of negativity and emotional turmoil, and you create space for a more open, honest, and peaceful interaction. Compassion also involves recognizing that, just like others, you too have moments when you struggle with your emotions, when you fall short of your own ideals, or when you make mistakes. Self-compassion is just as important as extending compassion to others. If you are hard on yourself or quick to judge your own actions, it becomes much more difficult to offer compassion to anyone else. When you make a mistake or find yourself reacting in ways that you wish you hadn't, instead of beating yourself up, practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself in those moments. Understand that everyone has flaws and that being imperfect is part of being human. By showing yourself compassion, you remove the need for self-criticism, which only fuels negative emotions like shame, guilt, and anger. Self-compassion allows you to move through life with greater ease and grace, knowing that mistakes don't define you and that you are deserving of love and understanding, just like anyone else. Another powerful way compassion contributes to your ability to remain unbothered by others is by encouraging you to focus on what you can control, your own response. When you choose compassion, you understand that while you cannot control the actions or emotions of others, you can always control how you choose to respond. If someone treats you poorly, your first instinct may be to lash out in anger or frustration. But with compassion, you create a pause between the stimulus, the person's hurtful behavior, and your response. This pause allows you to choose a response based on understanding rather than reaction. Instead of escalating the situation, you may choose to respond with kindness, assertiveness, or even silence, depending on what the situation requires. What's important is that compassion empowers you to act from a place of love and wisdom, not from a place of reactivity. Furthermore, compassion helps you to see beyond surface-level judgments and assumptions. How often do we react to others based on first impressions or quick judgments? We might see someone being rude and immediately think they are a bad person or that they are intentionally trying to hurt us. But when we view that person through the lens of compassion, we start to question our assumptions. We begin to ask ourselves, what might they be going through? What kind of struggles are they facing that might explain their behavior? This shift in perspective doesn't excuse negative behavior, but it allows you to view others with empathy rather than anger. It gives you the ability to respond with calmness rather than being swept away by frustration. And in doing so, you protect your own peace. It's also essential to remember that compassion is a practice. It's something that deepens and evolves the more you exercise it. You won't always feel compassionate in the moment, especially when someone's actions trigger your own emotions. But the more you consciously choose to view situations and people through the lens of compassion, the more natural it becomes. Over time, it becomes easier to extend kindness, understanding, and empathy, even in challenging situations. When you cultivate compassion as a regular practice, you begin to transform your entire way of interacting with the world. Instead of being pulled into the emotional dramas of others, you create a space of peace and understanding that is rooted in your own sense of humanity. One powerful way to develop compassion is by practicing gratitude. When you actively focus on the positive qualities in others and in yourself, you create an environment where compassion can thrive. Gratitude shifts your focus away from what's wrong or frustrating and redirects it toward what's good and life-affirming. The more you practice gratitude, the more you naturally start to approach people with kindness and understanding, even when they behave in ways that could easily trigger negative emotions. Gratitude softens the heart and opens it to compassion, allowing you to respond to life and others with a sense of gentleness and calm. Ultimately, the role of compassion in keeping your peace lies in its ability to transform your emotional landscape. When you approach life with a compassionate heart, you stop seeing the world as something that happens to you and start seeing it as something you engage with from a place of love and understanding. Compassion allows you to navigate through life's challenges without being weighed down by anger, resentment, or frustration. Instead of being reactive, you become proactive in protecting your peace, choosing to see the good in others, and offering the world the kindness and understanding it so desperately needs. And in turn, you create a life that is not only peaceful, but deeply fulfilling. The power of forgiveness and emotional freedom. When we talk about learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone, one of the most crucial concepts to embrace is the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It's not about condoning or excusing the actions that have hurt you. It's not about letting others off the hook or forgetting what happened. Instead, forgiveness is about releasing the hold that anger, resentment, or pain has over you. It's a conscious decision to free yourself from the emotional chains that keep you tied to the past and to reclaim your inner peace. Forgiveness doesn't just benefit the person who wronged you. It's a gift you give to yourself. It's a way of saying, I am no longer willing to carry this burden with me. And in doing so, you create space for healing, growth, and emotional freedom. When we hold onto anger or resentment, we carry that negative energy with us, often without even realizing it. It's like carrying a heavy weight on our shoulders, which affects not only our emotional state, but also our physical well-being. Holding grudges consumes mental and emotional energy that could be better used for positive pursuits. When we forgive, we stop allowing someone else's actions to control how we feel. We choose to let go of the negative emotions that tie us to painful memories, and instead, we reclaim our power. Forgiveness is about realizing that you don't have to stay stuck in the past. You don't have to remain emotionally anchored to a moment of hurt or betrayal. It's about choosing to move forward, free from the emotional baggage that has kept you tethered to anger, sadness, or bitterness. A key part of forgiveness is recognizing that everyone, including ourselves, is flawed. We all make mistakes, we all hurt others, and we all, at some point or another, find ourselves in situations where we act in ways we later regret. When we forgive others, we acknowledge that they, too, are human. Just like you, they may be acting from their own wounds, fears, and limitations. In many cases, the people who hurt us may not even realize the extent of their actions or the impact they've had on us. Holding on to anger or resentment in these situations only prolongs our suffering. It locks us into a state of pain, making it harder to heal and move forward. By choosing to forgive, we allow ourselves to be free from the grip of others' mistakes, and we create space to heal and grow. Forgiveness doesn't mean that we accept poor behavior or that we condone mistreatment. It's not about saying, what you did was okay. Instead, forgiveness is about separating the person from their actions and recognizing that holding on to anger only harms you. You don't have to forget what happened or allow it to happen again, but you can release the emotional charge that comes with it. When you forgive, you stop allowing someone else's behavior to take up mental space in your life. You stop replaying the event in your mind, rehashing every detail, and ruminating over how wrong it was. The more you hold on to these thoughts, the more you allow them to control your emotional state. Forgiveness is the key to letting go of this mental and emotional cycle. One of the most powerful things about forgiveness is that it allows you to break free from the role of the victim. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or grudges, you place yourself in a position where you are always reacting to the actions of others. You are continuously at the mercy of their behavior. But when you forgive, you reclaim your power. You say, I am not defined by what was done to me. I define myself by how I choose to respond. Forgiveness gives you the freedom to move forward, to create a life that is not controlled by the past, and to take responsibility for your own emotional well-being. It is an act of self-empowerment, and it frees you from the emotional grip that others may have on you. It's also important to recognize that forgiveness is a process, not a one-time event. Often, we think of forgiveness as something that happens in a single moment. I forgive you. But in reality, forgiveness is something we may need to practice repeatedly, especially when the hurt is deep or the betrayal feels particularly painful. Sometimes we may forgive someone, only to find that old feelings of anger or resentment resurface months or even years later. This is normal. Healing is not linear, and it's okay to revisit the process of forgiveness when the emotions resurface. Each time you choose to forgive, you take a step closer to emotional freedom. You let go of the past piece by piece until it no longer has the power to disturb your peace. Forgiveness also involves forgiving yourself. Many times, we can be our harshest critics, holding on to guilt, shame, or regret for things we've said or done. We may beat ourselves up for mistakes we made in the past, or feel like we are unworthy of forgiveness. But just like we need to forgive others, we must also extend the same grace to ourselves. Self-forgiveness is crucial for emotional healing and peace. It means accepting that you are human, and like everyone else, you make mistakes. It means letting go of the self-blame and self-judgment that only serves to keep you stuck in negative patterns. When you forgive yourself, you stop carrying the weight of past mistakes, and you allow yourself to grow, change, and become a better version of who you are. When you practice forgiveness, you open the door to greater emotional resilience. Life is full of challenges, disappointments, and moments where others may hurt or let us down. But forgiveness is a powerful tool that allows you to navigate these challenges without losing your peace. It allows you to stay grounded in your own emotional center, rather than being tossed around by every conflict or difficult interaction. The more you forgive, the stronger you become in maintaining your emotional well-being, regardless of what others do. You create a life where you are no longer at the mercy of others' actions or words. Instead, you are anchored in a place of peace, acceptance, and emotional freedom. In essence, forgiveness is the ultimate act of emotional liberation. It frees you from the chains of resentment, anger, and pain, and allows you to live with a lightness and ease that is difficult to achieve when you are holding on to grudges. When you forgive, you reclaim your inner peace, and you choose to live in a state of emotional freedom. It's not about forgetting or excusing wrongs. It's about choosing to let go of the emotional weight that holds you back. In doing so, you allow yourself to move forward in life with greater joy, clarity, and emotional strength. The power of perspective and living in the present moment. As we reach the final step in learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone, we come to the incredibly transformative concept of perspective. One of the most powerful ways to protect your peace and maintain emotional calm is by shifting your perspective on life. The way we view the world, people, and situations has a profound impact on how we feel. In many cases, our anger, frustration, or irritation arises not from the actual events themselves, but from the way we interpret and react to them. A simple shift in perspective can dramatically change how we experience life, turning moments of potential conflict or frustration into opportunities for growth, understanding, and peace. Perspective is everything. Think about it. Two people can experience the exact same event and have entirely different reactions to it. One person may feel angry, hurt, or offended, while the other person may brush it off and move forward without a second thought. The difference, their perspective. It's the lens through which they view the world, and that lens determines how they interpret and respond to the events that unfold around them. If you want to stop being bothered by others and cultivate a sense of calm in the face of challenges, you must learn to change your perspective. Instead of viewing life as a series of obstacles or threats, try to view it as a series of opportunities to practice patience, kindness, and understanding. One powerful way to shift your perspective is by recognizing that much of what causes us distress is beyond our control. People will behave the way they choose to behave, and the world will unfold according to its own rhythm and patterns. We cannot control everything around us, but we can always control how we respond to it. Understanding this fundamental truth allows us to stop feeling like victims of our circumstances and empowers us to reclaim our peace. When you shift your perspective to one of acceptance of things you cannot change, you release the grip that frustration, anger, or disappointment can have on you. You stop trying to control others and instead focus on controlling your own responses and reactions. This realization is liberating. It means you can take a step back from the emotional drama of life and choose to live in a state of peace, regardless of what is happening around you. A vital part of shifting your perspective involves embracing the present moment. So often, our anger or frustration stems from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. We replay hurtful interactions in our minds, ruminating over what someone said or did, or we worry about how things might unfold in the future. But the truth is, neither the past nor the future can be changed. The only thing we truly have control over is the present moment. When we focus on the here and now, we stop giving our energy to what is outside of our control. We stop letting past hurts or future anxieties dictate our emotions. By living fully in the present moment, we take away the power of past grudges and future worries, allowing us to experience life with greater peace and clarity. Mindfulness is a powerful practice that helps us stay rooted in the present. By being mindful, we become more aware of our thoughts and emotions, and we gain the ability to choose how we respond to them. For example, when someone says something that could potentially upset you, mindfulness allows you to notice the emotion arising within you, whether it's anger, frustration, or hurt, without automatically reacting. You create space to observe the emotion, acknowledge it, and then choose how to respond. This space between stimulus and response is where emotional freedom lies. It's the moment when you can decide, with full awareness, whether or not to let the words or actions of another person disturb your peace. The more you practice mindfulness and stay in the present moment, the less likely you are to be triggered by the words or actions of others. Another aspect of perspective is recognizing that everything in life is temporary. This too shall pass. Whether it's a challenging situation, an emotional upset, or an uncomfortable interaction with someone, nothing in life is permanent. The more you remind yourself of this, the easier it becomes to detach emotionally from situations that might otherwise upset you. When you recognize the transient nature of life, you gain a sense of peace knowing that everything is always in flux. Challenges will come and they will go. Emotions will rise and they will pass. Understanding this truth allows you to let go of the need to control everything and to find peace in knowing that all things, good and bad, are temporary. In addition to embracing the present moment, it's important to also cultivate an attitude of gratitude. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you automatically shift your perspective from lack and frustration to abundance and appreciation. Gratitude has a way of transforming our mindset. It makes us more aware of the positive things in our lives, and it shifts our attention away from the things that upset or bother us. When you make gratitude a regular part of your life, you begin to see the world through a lens of abundance rather than scarcity. You begin to notice all the good that surrounds you, the people who love you, the opportunities that are available to you, and the beauty in the world. Gratitude brings us back to the present moment, and it helps us appreciate what is, rather than focusing on what isn't. This shift in perspective makes it much easier to stay calm and unbothered when faced with difficult people or situations. In the end, learning how to never get angry or bothered by anyone comes down to mastering the art of perspective. By shifting how you view life, by embracing the present moment, and by focusing on gratitude, you can protect your inner peace and respond to challenges with calmness and clarity. Life is constantly throwing us curveballs, and people will always behave in ways that may not align with our expectations or desires. But when you change your perspective, you stop allowing others to dictate your emotional state. You take back control of your responses and create a life where peace, happiness, and emotional freedom are within your grasp. If you found this insight helpful and transformative, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Your support means the world, and it helps us continue bringing you valuable content to enrich your life. Keep cultivating peace, and may you live each day with calm, clarity, and emotional freedom.